Okay, so there's massive plasma fire going through Ventura County in California, and we'll talk about some of the standard burn patterns that show that it's plasma fire. But first, she's going to show this long line of rocks that are burning like pieces of coal, and this is a new and different feature that I've never seen. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Of heavy smoke throughout these neighborhoods, and we came across this property.
Notice all the unburned palm fronds, just like normal plasma fire. All the vegetation between the houses is not burned. What does burn is the cars and houses. All of the cars have zero glass. It burned hot enough to melt the glass, which is like 2,700 degrees. Far hotter than any forest fire or any car fire, and every one of those cars has zero glass. All of that glass is melted. The engine block is pouring out the front of that vehicle. Now look at this. What the hell is that? And notice all the unburned foliage all around it. She calls it a brush fire right here. You can see the brush behind it is doing just fine. Is this lava rocks that they were using for just a landscape feature? These rocks, this pile of rocks just goes along that fence right there. Those are rocks that are burning. Something about them was conductive of the electricity, causing them to burn. Unless the person has a coal, that's not wood, those aren't logs. What are those chunks of coal? Whatever it was, it conducted the electricity in a way that I've never seen before. And the foliage is just fine. She calls it a brush fire right there. Let's listen to her call it a brush fire.
You know, in the background here. So, as you mentioned, from the Ventura County Fire Department, this rapid moving brush fire has now spread to nearly 9,000 acres, and I think
that deserves a few more views, man. Whatever that rock is right there, we need to figure out, because that's highly conductive. It's not normal rock. Otherwise, we'd see that a lot. It's got to be some sort of special rock. Maybe it's lava rock. Lava rock is often used decoratively. I don't think it's wood. That's not logs. It's all shaped in too many different odd shapes. It's not shapes of logs. But again, it's absolutely plasma fire. This gets really old. Look how low-hanging those palm fronds are. Those are highly flammable. And what I'm going to bring your attention to is the Operation Mockingbird assets that are posing as news commentators for these fires. You're going to hear them continue repeating the talking points. By the way, Operation Mockingbird is when the CIA infiltrated all of the news outlet agencies with agents so they can drive narratives and put out talking points and control the flow of disinformation that they're putting out. These news commentators are absolutely following a script, and some of the talking points that they keep driving home is embers. Embers. All these houses that you see burning, they're all embers, he says. And this is a unicorn, as in a highly rare, never seen before creature, while at the same time acknowledging that all of the insurance companies have pulled out of California. They will not issue new policies, and everyone that had an existing policy got a non-renewal notice, where we'll finish up the duration that you have on your insurance policy for the premiums that you've already paid, and when it's time to renew your policy, we're not going to do it. That's a clue. They knew what was coming. This isn't a unicorn. This is part of a pattern that's so repetitive that the insurance companies have seen it and said, we're out. That's a clue to the residents. Maybe you ought to get out too. They can see what's coming. Listen to these news commentators. I'm just going to let it roll. This is good view because it shows you all the houses burning, none of the foliage in between, and guaranteed all of these houses are burning from the inside. Here at this point, they show you this house is burning from the inside. Gives you a pretty good visual.
So getting residents in affected areas out.
And one talking point they keep repeating is that our number one priority is to protect life. And second priority is to protect property. See it burning from the inside? Burns from the inside out. Guaranteed. If there's Ring doorbell cameras of your neighbor's house catching fire, that's what it's going to look like. It started on the inside in every one of these houses. The electrical wiring in the walls. All of these houses started burning on the inside. Whatever Ring doorbell camera footage you can get a hold of will show this. And the talking point they keep repeating is that our number one priority is saving life. Listen to the news commentators. One of them says, we've got firefighters from this department, that department, that department, this department. Names all the fire departments that are there on scene. And then a couple minutes later, she says, yeah, we ran into a firefighter. In fact, he was the first one we've seen the whole time we've been out here filming this. The firefighters have been told to stand down. Do not try to save the property. That's why they keep repeating the talking point. Our number one priority is to save lives. We're not here to save your property. We're not even going to try. It's slated for destruction. This is out of control. We're not even going to attempt to try to put your house out when you're like, oh, but it's just barely started. The corner's on fire. Well, it's going to keep going because our number one priority is to save lives. And any time that I spend over here trying to save your property is time that I could have been saving a life somewhere else. The reason they keep repeating this talking point about number one priority is to save lives is an extension of the fact that saving your property is not our priority. Listen to these commentators as they're narrating here. They're absolutely agents reading talking points completely. I'll probably jump in here in a minute.
He's in Sky 5. It seems like there are fire pockets everywhere, Rich.
Yeah, fire pockets. I don't know if I recorded that last part. Listen to these Operation Mockingbird assets. First thing she says is there's little pockets of fire everywhere. Those pockets of fire are all houses. And the foliage in between the houses is not burning. He says it's embers blowing in the wind. The embers can take it from a mile up to 3 miles. And all the houses you see burning here are embers, 100%. That's it. That's the reason for all of these houses. He's very emphatic about it.
Let's check in now with Rich Prickett. He's in Sky 5. It seems like there are fire pockets everywhere, Rich.
Yeah, there certainly is. This is just showing how devastating this fire is right now in the Camarillo Heights area. This is very reminiscent of the Thomas fire that we saw many years ago where an entire neighborhood was lost. You can see the multiple homes, large homes, up here in Camarillo Heights that are now completely lost. Another one here that is just now starting to catch fire or continuing to burn here. Many of these homes will be a complete loss. It's really not in an area that firefighters have access to at this point. And right now the priority is to get people out of this area, get them evacuated, make sure that people aren't in these homes that are burning. We're going to wind down here and kind of give you an idea of what this area would look like without all this smoke. You can see how many homes, the way that the hills are, the roads, the access in and out of this area. It's just north of Las Postas Road. It's around Mission and Loop. We'll go back to the live shot, and it's devastating. Many homes here, nearly an entire community of homes that is now on fire. It's difficult to see exactly how many homes, but I'm counting at least a dozen homes that are here. Still some arcing power lines that are here in the area that could just agitate what is already just a tough here.
I'm sorry, did he say arcing power lines that could agitate the fire? Oops, you're kind of letting the cat out of the bag there, dude, that this fire has something to do with electricity. Shh, shh, you're going off script. Get back on the script. Don't talk about the arcing power lines. One of the other news reporters is walking through the scene saying, and there's a burnt telephone pole, a burnt power pole right around the corner from us. Like one of those embers. Embers just fly and they hit the cars and the houses and they leave the trees alone. Oh, and one must have hit that telephone pole.
Camarillo. This area, more and more structures as we pan through here. It's just devastating. Many people are going to lose their homes here. It's continuing to burn at a fast rate with these winds that are howling from the north and pushing it southwest, a little closer towards Sterling Hills and the Spanish Hills area. If it hasn't made it there already, we'll try and that area when we can.
Those winds you're talking about are called ionic winds or electric winds, and they accompany all of the plasma fires.
In this community is now is completely lost, and it's awful to see. You hope that everybody was able to make it out of here. There's cars that are burning in here. It's terrible. And
Yep, cars are burning, houses are burning. Do you see any trees burning? Any? One? Is there a single one anywhere? Nope.
That they were trapped in their car. They had no access to get out, and we did take a look at the closure there, not allowing traffic to go up into the hills. They are allowing people to come down, of course, because they want to get as many people off of the hills. And it's just, as we continue to move to the west here, it's just one neighborhood after the other that has homes that are burning.
And you know what's so frustrating, Rich? You did say, it is devastating, and hope that everyone got out of there safely, for sure. A lot of this, and now we're seeing the firefighters. I feel like this is the first time we've actually seen firefighters on the ground since we've been covering this.
It's just one neighborhood after the other that has.
And you know what's so frustrating?
First time we've seen firefighters on the ground. Look, there's some right there. Huh, that's the first time we've seen them.
They're safely.
Sure. A lot of this, and now we're seeing the firefighters. I feel like this is the first time we've actually seen firefighters on the ground since we've been covering this. We jumped on here 2 hours ago. So to their credit, there are so many fires happening in the surrounding areas, and also some of that topography initially was like a tough area for them to get into. But Sky 5's signal is very spotty today, mainly also too maybe with the winds and the smoke affecting that.
As Prickett mentioned,
I believe those are all houses in a row. That's why all that line of flames is right there. Those are all houses right next to one another.
sometimes that is something happens there.
Right?
Yeah.
So like one home can catch on fire and then the wind can pick it up and just everyone's out of there. But typically, sometimes that is something happens there with embers, right?
Yeah.
So like one home can catch on fire and then the wind can pick it up and just pop it along. But just so sad to see. And
you're looking just literally all of those homes that we just saw that were engulfed, that is result of embers. That's it, period. Yes. Those houses,
they've all done a good job of brush clearance.
They, of course. On concrete. So homes that we just saw that were engulfed.
That's it, period. All of those homes that are on fire, that's a result of embers. That's it, period.
That is result of embers. That's it, period. Yes. Those houses,
they've all done a good job of brush clearance.
They, of course, and they're on concrete. So, you know, some of that concrete slabs, maybe a half of an acre, some of those properties that are quite large. And that does not stop those embers or that flammage from continuing to make its way into some of those eaves. That's why, again, that's important too, is to really clean the gutters around your home, up on the roofs, the eaves that are in your house during, you know, the entire year. We get winds and we get rain and we get a lot of things going on and some stuff that you don't even know that's stuck.
What about the cars? The cars don't have eaves for an ember to make its way into, but they're just as burning just as well. They have nothing exposed but metal and glass. I feel like I'm talking to the newcomers. The only people watching this shit are the people that have already seen this 100 times. So I'll stop. Yes, it's a plasma fire. All over Ventura, that's all plasma fire.
Up in your gutters or your eaves, and it's important to take a look around your home a couple times a year and clean things out so that this doesn't happen. But this is almost impossible to stop what we're taking a look at. Again, this is just heartbreaking. It's embers that are flying, and we've heard from fire authorities during the morning, some of these embers can fly through the atmosphere anywhere from a mile to up to 3 miles in distance. So that happens with the winds, and these winds are not calming down. They are ferocious, gusts of up to 60, 65, 67, 68 miles per hour. And you can see the smoke. It's just horizontal.
It's not even going up. It's
No.
just and look at those palm trees.
Yeah, it's laying flat. Those palms are so strong. And you could see them just swaying so viciously. And there you go. That's the result of the embers. They just move around and they get caught in an eave, in a gutter. And that, unfortunately, is the end of that. These structures. And
Yeah, that's the result of these embers. He's repeated embers enough times now that if he says embers a few more times and just says embers again and then repeats embers some more, we can explain why all these houses are going up when they're sitting on a half acre of cement, because, you know, the embers and the eaves. Repeat the eaves a couple more times too, along with the embers.
Firefighters are doing their very, very best. And you can see some of the engines on the streets. But again, this is about also saving your life and saving lives in general. So we cannot have our firefighters putting themselves in danger either.
And you see, look at that home right there. I mean, it is completely
Total
burned
loss.
to the ground. Total loss. And you know, we got a.
I just want to say thank you to these Operation Mockingbird intelligence agents posing as news broadcasters, because the worst thing that could happen right now is for the people of California to recognize what's actually happening. So keep telling them embers, keep giving them the prosaic explanations as if this is all just business as usual and there's nothing going on here other than embers and normal fire. Because if people figured out what's going on, this is the point at which we could see a flashpoint. If people figure out plasma fire and suddenly this understanding goes viral and everyone figures out there's a major electricity component to these fires, because not a single one of those embers landed on any of the bush that they're calling a brush fire, and there's plenty of dry brush all around, so if it was embers, then that brush would be just as easily, if not 100 times more flammable than the house or the car. If the people of California figured that out, the whole place comes unraveled. Mad Max ensues. So thank you to the disinformation agents for pacifying the livestock of the human cattle and keeping them from stampeding by repeating embers and whatever other nonsense pacifies those soft-minded people.
Here in California with
home insurance. In some of these areas, I mean, some insurance companies are leaving California. They're refusing to give people policies because of what they see going on in situations like this. So you got to wonder. I mean, these folks, maybe they'll be able to rebuild, but are they going to be able to insure the property if they do rebuild?
Yeah, and some of these properties that we're trying to insure, they're not even in fire-prone areas. I mean, my parents live in Encino, and there's no wildfires that happen near Ventura Boulevard in the White Oak area, but they cannot get fire insurance. They are not covered right now. It's almost impossible to get that coverage.
It's so sad to see this. It's just devastating. And I think our understanding was that they closed off some of those roads once the fires happened up there. So I'm assuming a lot of residents weren't able to go back to their home. Hopefully neighbors were able to go into the different homes. That's the importance, I think, too, in terms of earthquakes and fires, is to know your neighbors.
Yes.
And so if you are away, that you can call your neighbor and say, hey, the hidden key is blah, blah, blah. Or give them a key, or just so they can go in and either help with an elderly person or possibly the animals that are in the home.
But I must say again, this situation is a unicorn.
Yes.
We're looking at winds again, gusting up to almost hurricane strength winds.
Yeah.
And you don't want to call your neighbors and say, but I must say again, this situation is a unicorn.
Yes.
look when
So they were just talking about how the insurance companies have pulled out because of the repetitive pattern of these fires, and then 2 seconds later, he's saying this is a unicorn. A once-in-a-lifetime thing that no one's ever even seen before and no one believes existed, and it was just so random that it'll never happen again. It's like a unicorn. You see it once in a billion lifetimes. While in the same breath, telling you insurance companies won't insure these homes anymore because of the repetitive pattern that I've been displaying on my channel for the last 7 summers in a row. Unicorn.
again, gusting.
So they can go in and either help with an elderly person or possibly the animals that are in the home.
But I must say again, this situation is a unicorn.
Yes.
We're looking at winds again, gusting up to almost hurricane strength winds.
Yeah.
And you don't want to call your neighbors to say, hey, can you go get this for me? Because you don't want to put them in danger.
Yeah.
These winds are shifting
So rapidly, it's just dangerous.
Those winds are called ionic winds or electric wind, and they accompany this plasma fire phenomenon on a regular basis.
The mountain fire in Moore Park is forcing mandatory evacuation.
While the broad fire in Malibu has burned at least one home. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 1. I'm Glenn Walker.
And I'm Lou Parker. Thanks for joining us. At this hour, we are waiting for Vice President.
One other thing I just remembered that I should have mentioned already, these homes are all burning simultaneously. If it was Embers, then they would have to move from one home to the next, and by the time the fifth home is caught on fire, the first home is gone out. These all caught fire simultaneously. They're all taking approximately the same 2 to 3 hours to burn. There is not a continuation like a domino effect from one that fell and the line goes on and you can see the continuation and the progression, and the ones that fell are already 3/4 burned out and the ones that just started are barely starting on fire. They all start simultaneously.
Deliver her concession speech.
When that starts, we will bring that to you live.
Until then,
Let the conspiracy theories begin. Trump won, and as soon as he run, he said, flip the switch on Operation Burn 'em Out, those libtards in LA. Let the conspiracy theories fly.
Glenn Lou, hi. We're still near the intersection of Balcom Canyon Road and Old Balcom Canyon, and we were driving up here.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap this up. Every car in these areas will look like this. Notice the hood is missing. That's a common theme. All the glass is missing. That's nearly 100% of the time. In these plasma fires, somehow the glass is like conductive of the electricity and it causes it to melt. And the melting temperature of glass is far higher than any recorded forest fire or car fire. That proves plasma fire. Along with all the unburned brush in between the houses that are burnt to nothing. But what the hell is this? The shapes don't look like chopped up pieces of wood. And even if it was, it's all burning simultaneously as well. I think this might be lava rock. It's some sort of decorative landscape rock. And it's burning in ways that I've never seen. We'll close it out with some Ventura Highway. 'Cause the free wind's blowing through your hair, and the days surround your daylight there. Seasons crying, no despair. Alligator lizards in the air, in the air. That's right at the height of the chorus. That's not a side lyric that maybe people just didn't notice. That's basically the main chorus of the song. How did we miss that part? Oh, well, but that was back in the 70s or 60s and people were smoking a lot of weed and they said a lot of weird stuff, man. Alligator lizards in the air? Looking at you, lizard hunter. Looking at you. Leave a comment in the comments. Let me know what you think about that, lizard hunter. Okay, that was kind of an inside joke, so I'll have to fill everyone else in. Here's a comment left by this guy who says, @realist, and his screen name is Lizard Hunter. With the, I guess I can't zoom in. With the green crosshairs, like what you see when you look through a scope. And he calls himself Lizard Hunter. That's his screen name. And he says in Washington, campfires weren't allowed until pretty much the snow fell, and even campgrounds, not even charcoal fires were allowed. I seen massive areas with only the bottoms of trees burnt. Remember that part, only the bottoms of trees burnt. But it didn't click until I left. If I'm still alive next year, which I highly doubt, I will film it. Since he highly doubts he'll be alive next year. I said, we'll miss you, Lizard Hunter. See you on the other side. Just so you know, when you walk into the light after that moment of death, there's going to be some lizards there wanting to have a talk with you. And Dennis over here says, could you please do a video discussing what you're talking about here? And I replied with a link to Jewish Reptilian Alliance, Sacred Serpent Brotherhood, Seraphim, Nakash, Nega, Tali. Link will be in the description if you want to get a little more caught up on the coming witch hunt. A genocide based on pupil shape that everyone's already preconditioned foot soldiers to partake in.
Because he's the guy that actually says the help is going to come from underneath the earth. And on the History Channel, he actually says that. And he says that the reptilians are the seraphim. Yeah, maybe he's got a point. But what's really wacko is that he says that if you see a reptilian hand, don't be afraid. He's your friend. He considers them to be the true helpers of God Almighty, so to speak, right? And so this has gone a long way from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob serving our Heavenly Father to now rabbis talking about, like they call it the sacred serpent. Many rabbis are into this. No wonder why the Pharisees are, I mean, Jesus says, you're of your...
Since I mentioned it, I'll just finish off when he was talking about trees that were only burnt at the bottom. Check out what they're about to show right here. Trees only burnt at the bottom.